Here in the Potter's Field of Rosebud Cemetery lies Kid Curry, an unmarked grave, a man listed at 2 cemeteries, also listed in a grave at Linwood Cemetery, along with Doc Holliday, both with graves that may or may not be in place. Here at Rosebud Cemetery, we shall tell the story of Kid Curry and return to Linwood to tell the amazing tale of Doc Holliday next time. Harvey Alexander Logan was born in Iowa, 1867. In 1876, his mom died, and his brothers Hank, Johnny, and Lonnie moved to Dodson, Missouri to live with their aunt, Lee Logan. Until 1883, he made a living breaking horses on a Cross L ranch in Texas, and he met and befriended a man named Flatnose George Curry, who he took as his last name. Soon his brothers also took the Curry name, known as hard workers, but had a taste for alcohol and women. When he became famous, women would name him the father of their child, known to have 5 children with different women, called the Curry Kids, although he is rumored to have up to 85 children. In 1883, Curry rode as a cowboy on a cattle drive in Pueblo, Colorado, and got involved in a saloon brawl. To avoid arrest, he fled to southern Wyoming to work on a Circle Diamond ranch. When he was sober, he was mild-mannered, likable, and loyal to his friends and brothers. Curry's brother Hank and a friend named Jim Thornhill, who bought a ranch at Rock Creek, Montana, also near a mine strike by a local miner and lawman, Powell Pike Landesky, who confronted Kid Curry about his romantic relationship with his daughter Elfie, filing assault charges against Curry, arresting him and beating him. 2 of Curry's friends, A.S. Lohman and Frank Plankett, paid for his $500 bond. Elfie later claimed she was involved with Lonnie, not Harvey, but the confession came about too late. On December 27, 1894, Curry's friend Landesky, at a local saloon, hit him. Thinking the fight was over, Curry walked away, but Landesky pulled his pistol, threatening Curry, who was unarmed. But Curry's friend Jim Thornhill gave Curry a pistol to duel each other. Landesky's pistol jammed, and Curry took Landesky's life. Curry was arrested, but as an inquest found, he acted in self-defense, yet a formal trial was set. The judge was close friends with Landesky. Thinking he wouldn't get a fair trial, Curry left town. He began writing with outlaw Tom Blackjack Ketchum, the famous Pinkerton detectives tailing them from Montana. In 1896, Curry received word that an old friend of Landesky's, rancher James Winters, had been spying on him to collect the reward offered for his arrest. Curry and his 2 brothers, Johnny and Lonnie, went to the Winters ranch to confront him. A shootout erupted, and Johnny's life was taken, whereas Lonnie and Curry escaped. Thereafter, they had an argument with Blackjack over their take in a train robbery. They decided to leave the gang, his brothers, and join the circus. What a crazy, colorful life this man led. Kid Curry was being trailed by the Pinkerton detectives, who back off briefly and got employment on a cattle ranch. Also formed his own gang with his brothers Lonnie George and friend Walt Putnam. Curry temporarily left Colorado to check out potential robberies. April 15, 1897, Curry became involved in taking the life of Deputy Sheriff William Dean of Powder River, Wyoming. He then gathered fresh horses and returned to the ranch where he worked. By June of 1897, the ranch job ended, and Curry went north with the gang. They robbed a bank in South Dakota, where the townspeople tried to stop them abruptly. Their friend Tom O'Day was captured when his horse spooked. They planned a second robbery, but was met with a posse in Montana. a shootout began, and Kid Curry was shot through the wrist, and his horse shot out from beneath him, and he was captured. George Curry and Walt Putnam were also captured. All three held in a Deadwood, South Dakota jail, but only briefly, because they overtook the jailer and escaped. They headed back to Montana, where they robbed 2 post offices. During this time, Curry began to ride with the infamous Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch gang. On June 2nd, the day of my birthday, 1899, the gang robbed the Union Pacific Railroad Overland Flyer passenger train near Wilcox, Wyoming, a robbery to become famous. Many notable lawmen hunted for the gang but weren't to be captured yet. During the robbery, Kid and George Curry took Sheriff Joe Hazen's life. I did a story on Tom Horn, buried in Columbia Cemetery in Colorado. I'll link the video below. Well, Tom Horn, a contract employee of the Pinkerton agency, had obtained info from an explosives expert, Bill Speck, identifying George and Kid Curry as those who had taken the Sheriff Hazen's life, passing this info on to Pinkerton detective Charlie Siringo. Then the gang escaped into their hideout at the Hole in the Wall. Curry and Sundance Kid may have used a log cabin, now preserved, at the old trail town in Cody, Wyoming, as a hideout, planning to rob a bank in Red Lodge, Montana. But that never happened, and never any evidence that Sundance Kid participation was ever proven. At this time, Pinkerton detective Charlie Siringo had been given the task of bringing in the gang, becoming friends with Elfie Landesky, who had taken the name Curry, naming Lonnie as the father of her baby. Through her, Siringo intended to locate the gang. He changed his name to Charles L. Carter as an on-the-run gunman, mingling with the Curry's friends like Jim Thornhill. Kid Curry was hiding in another hideout called Robber's Roost, used by the Wild Bunch, in a remote Utah canyon. Then Curry went to Alma, New Mexico, with Cassidy and others to hide out for a while. On July 11, 1899, while working at another ranch job, Curry robbed a Colorado and Southern Railroad train near Folsom, New Mexico, with gang members Elzie Lay, Sam Ketchum, brothers of Tom Black, Jack Ketchum. A posse led by Huerfano County, Colorado Sheriff Ed Farr cornered the gang near Turkey Creek, where 2 gun battles resulted over 4 days. Lay and Ketchum were wounded and then captured, where the sheriff was mortally wounded. As well as Deputy Henry Love, Ketchum died of his wounds, and Lay received a life sentence. Kid Curry escaped, but he and Cassidy and other gang members were forced to leave New Mexico, traveling to San Antonio, Texas, meeting an escort named Della Moore, aka Annie Rogers or Maud Williams, becoming romantically involved with her, working at a Madame Farney Porter's brothel, also known as a regular hideout for the Wild Bunch gang. On February 28, 1900, Lonnie Curry was almost arrested at his aunt's house, but his life was taken in a shootout. His cousin Bob Lee arrested for rustling and put in jail in Wyoming. Kid Curry, now the only survivor of the brothers. Kid was identified for passing notes from a robbery near Arizona. Local Apache City Sheriff Edward Beeler got a posse together and went after Curry and his now partner, Bill News Carver. On March 28th, there was a shootout, taking the life of Deputy Andrew Gibbons and Deputy Frank LeSueur. On May 26th, Kid rode to Utah, taking Grand City Sheriff Jesse Tyler and Deputy Sam Jenkins in a Moab, Utah shootout. Retaliations for Tyler and Jenkins taking his brothers' lives. He returned to the Wild Bunch on August 29, 1900. They robbed the Union Pacific No. 3 train near Tipton, Wyoming. The newspapers claimed they got $55,000, whereafter the gang split up. Kid and Ben Kilpatrick headed to Fort Worth, Texas, while Cassidy Sundance and Bill Carver pulled off another robbery in Winnemucca, Nevada. Siringo was still working for the Pinkerton detectives and was in Circleville, Utah, where Bush Cassidy was raised. Well, Kid Curry rejoined the gang and they hit a Great Northern train near Wagner, Montana on July 3rd, taking over $60,000 in cash. But gang member Bill Carver was killed in Sonora, Texas. Once again, the gang split up. Della Moore, the Kid Curry girlfriend, was arrested for passing notes from a Kid Curry robbery. On November 5th, 6 gang members were captured near St. Louis, Missouri. December 13th, Kid Curry took the life of a Knoxville, Tennessee policeman, William Pinwhittle, and Robert Saylor in a shootout and again escaped. He was pursued by the Pinkerton detectives but went to Montana where he took rancher James Winter's life, who had taken his brother Johnny's life years before, the second in his revenge crimes. Curry returned to Knoxville in a pool hall November 30th, 1902. Curry was in a lengthy physical fight with lawmen, convicted of robbery and the other crimes with no witnesses, receiving a sentence of 20 years, hard labor, and a $5,000 fine. On June 27, 1903, Curry escaped rumors that a deputy received an $8,000 bribe to allow Curry to escape, but was never proven. On June 7, 1904, a posse tracked Kid Curry down outside Parachute, Colorado. They had robbed a train near outside Parachute. Escaping, they stole fresh horses owned by a Roll Gardner and a neighbor. The next morning, they discovered the horses stolen and went after Curry. They caught up with them, shot the horses from underneath them. Gardner found cover. The neighbors started running. Kid took aim at the neighbor, and Gardner shot Kid Curry. The wounded Curry decided to take his own life to avoid capture and prison. Rumors persist that Curry wasn't killed in Parachute and was misidentified, having actually left for South America with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Charlie Siringo resigned from the Pinkertons, believing they got the wrong man. Kid Curry was buried in Pioneer Linwood Cemetery, but also supposedly buried here in the Potter's Field at Rosebud Cemetery. I love to tell these Wild West tales of an Old West outlaw, the colorful, crazy life his and other outlaw bandits led way back when the West was won and lost. A man also nicknamed the Tiger of the Wild Bunch. Edward Thomas Taylor, born 1858, Woodford County, Illinois, died 1941. And Etta Tabor Taylor, born 1862, Otsego County, New York, died 1946. In recognition of and tribute to Ed Taylor's impartial devotion to the development of Colorado and the West, he was elected to local, state, and federal office for 57 years of continuous public service, 1884 to 1941. through superintendent of schools, district attorney, state senator for 12 years, and beginning in 1909, his last 33 years as Western Colorado's first congressman. Fitting monuments named for him were Taylor State Road, Taylor Reservoir, Taylor Peak, and the Taylor Grazing Act. His greatest monument is his lasting contribution as a pioneer in reclamation and conservation of natural resources and beauty for all people. In all this, he was inspired and helped by his beloved wife, Etta.
They bought a mausoleum for like 6 members of their family.
If I were in a novel, I wouldn't be the hero. I wouldn't have the grand romance or conquer mighty foes. I wouldn't be the villain and hatch an evil plan. I wouldn't be the rebel. I wouldn't be the wise man. I would be the nameless clerk, a shadow passing by, unnoticed in the milling round, among the faceless crowd. If I were in a movie, I'd have no lines to say. I'd be out of focus, in the distance, on the edge of frame. I would be the background, a shadow passing by, unnoticed in the milling round, among the faceless crowd. If I were a magician and could really disappear, not a soul would notice, and none would shed a tear. If I were to vanish, it would bring no joy to an audience of no one. no witness to the void.